That probably wasn't the best place to be.
Like bad adverse or just like slightly adverse?
I shouldn't feel good.
Yeah.
Am I the only one that's going to be audio, video, or should I mute myself too?
No, we'd like to see your face.
I like to see your face. You want to see my face, Steve?
Didn't realize my video wasn't running.
I'll let you see my face.
There you go.
Oh, look, there's Daniel too.
Wow.
Okay, so Mr. Hayes, are you ready?
This is weird. Are we expecting Nora?
No, I guess not.
Okay.
Are we planning on there being video at city, wherever you guys are, City Hall? Because I'm not seeing any video of it.
This one isn't on. I don't see the light on. Oh.
See. That was the one that I did. So what's not plugged in or doing?
I don't mind.
Oh, start video. That would help. There you go. Is
There
that
we
better?
are.
Oh. Yeah, okay, I'm here.
We see you now.
Okay.
And with that, Brian checked out.
No. I'm here.
He's still
Oh, there you are.
We just had to push the right button. Turn the video on. So, okay, you're ready.
Okay. I'm calling the meeting. Doris, let's see. What do I do? I forgot. It's been a while.
All by himself.
Yeah, I thought this was a
Not
Zoom
usually
meeting.
by myself. Okay. Calling meeting to order. Let's have our flag salute. Let's do this, guys. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the
United States of America.
And
To the republic for which stands one nation, under God, indivisible,
Visible,
with liberty
liberty and justice for
justice
all.
for all.
That's hard to do with it slightly delayed. I felt like I was doing the whatever that thing's called. Okay. Has everybody read the minutes?
Yes.
Yes.
Would somebody like to,
I make a motion to approve last meeting's minutes.
I'll second that.
okay, any other discussion? Okay, all in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, sounds good. And then we've got business licenses, which y'all can't see.
They were in our
You have the
package.
list of packets. Any that you want me to talk about? I have the license application in front of me. I only have one question.
Except for Willamette Construction, they're all renewals, right?
Yeah. And that's my question is on Willamette Construction.
So with that one, it's basically they had to get a business license because they're going to be doing some asbestos on a house that's going to be removed.
Oh, okay, and what are they doing with that asbestos? Do we know?
Removing it?
The outside the city limits?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, proper disposal.
It's got to go to Class 2 landfill, so
Great.
So they
That
need a
was my only
specific business license for that removal? Is that different from like an asbestos permit?
they need the city business license, but they should be regulated by the state as far as asbestos removal is concerned,
Correct.
because it has to be handled in a certain manner. The tiles and the rest of the stuff that might have asbestos in the mastic have to be bagged up. there's a
Right.
specific protocol, and then they all have to go to class 2 landfill. So
I think where I'm not following is how, why the asbestos ties to them needing a business license. I mean, they need a business license, but
Because they're doing business in the city limits.
so every time they have a building with the asbestos removal, they need to do license.
no,
No, this is just a company that currently does not have a business license with the city. And so they're doing X amount of dollars over our limit that you have to get a business license if you do business in the city at all.
Okay.
So if
got
there
it.
was another company that came in that was going to be doing the same thing and they don't have a business license, they would have to get a business license also.
Okay.
So they are already licensed with the state and they just didn't have the city license yet.
Got it. Okay.
Any other questions about them, about any of these?
No.
No.
I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the renewals for the business licenses and the new one in Willamette Construction.
I'll second.
All right. Any more discussion? No? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, great. Land use code update. That's this. No. Yeah.
Right. So this is our next document to go through. Went ahead and printed out a copy for everybody and hopefully some of you had a chance to go through it and mark it up and start thinking about the changes that we want to make. And I don't know if, Eric, if you just want to take the lead, do we want to
Yeah.
go page by page or how do you want to operate this?
I think we go through the pages and then when we get to a page or somebody's got comment, then we can stop.
And this
I
is
have
more than one
the
meeting.
pages dog-eared.
Are we going to be asking questions here too, or are we mostly just going to be talking about like typographicals or suggested edits?
All the above.
Yeah, I think
All
it's
right.
edits. So this
Yeah,
is edits so
hoping
that
for all
it'll
the above.
change to conform to our plan that we just finished.
Okay.
Right.
So loud. My first question was on page 4. Or first thing.
Likewise.
All right. I say we start there, man.
I have it highlighted as well.
I thought the city didn't have commercial space zoned. I thought we were only zoned one. Are we zoned 2 different kinds of zoning?
Yes. we have
Oh,
to-
okay.
Kinds of zoning only,
Okay,
residential and commercial.
that's right. Why did I think it was, oh, it was different kinds of housing zoning.
Right,
Okay. All right, that was easy.
I had a question on the 5.5 per acre.
Yeah, I have the same question.
Isn't the
That-
county's 5.0 per acre? Or
Oh, actually, that will need to change. No,
That's units, right? So how do you have a half unit?
well, I think what they did was they divided the square foot you needed and they got that 5.5. Like if you have a subdivision that has, 55 acres, you end up with a certain amount of lots. And it works out to 5.5 per acre, but of course you don't build a half a house.
Yeah.
so 8 times, yeah, so well, that was to match the 8,000 square foot. So that actually would change
It would.
to 11.
It
Yeah,
would.
this is, you guys need to discuss still, you guys had talked about moving the minimum lot size to lower than 8,000 square foot. Nothing has been like decided yet. So this will change depending on what you guys suggest.
Well, that's the notes that I made was based on that 4,000 square feet. And I put a note net to it, would change it to 11.
Yeah. So do we want to discuss the number since we've just, I thought that the plan, we actually suggested 4,000.
That changes the family units to 11.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Does it affect the multifamily or the mobile home parks?
Sorry, that's what I was, because we shrunk the lots, right? 4,000. So shouldn't that shrink the family units from 5.5?
I can't hear you guys very well. I'm moving over.
Yeah.
versus 25 units for multifamily.
Well, I'm not sure that that would actually affect those other two. Unless we change the lot size for multifamily housing and mobile home parks. Because they have a certain, like the mobile home parks have a certain requirement to have so many, they can only be so many square feet versus the lot size, plus they have to have parking for two.
Right. That's a good point. That's actually, that 4,000 doesn't really match up to the multifamily.
Yeah,
But I must be missing something in the math here, because if we shrunk the lot size from 8,000, then
That's
I
for
would-
single family dwelling.
for single family dwellings, I would expect that unit per acre of single family to shrink also.
no, that goes up. That's
No, that
inversely,
goes up because
inversely correlated.
they're inversely correlated.
Oh,
Mm.
yes. Terrible math on my part. Thank you.
Anything else on that?
We'd be able to fit more on an acre, the smaller lot.
Do we, I just had a question on the general retail, commercial and stuff. Do we abide by that 2,500 square foot?
Currently, yes.
The answer is yes, even along 505.
If it's zoned commercial, there's not too many that are zoned commercial. Well, I guess it depends on what part of 505 you're talking about.
Well, are they grandfather? I can barely hear you, Michelle. Are they grandfathered in if they're smaller than that?
No, they're not grandfathered in if they're less than 2,500 square feet.
Okay, so you have a retail strip mall like we do where the barber shop is and the bank.
Correct.
And they have how many businesses? Does that count as one business or does that count as like 8 businesses?
Like the corner here with the tattoo shop, those are
Where
all
the tattoo
small.
shop is. So yeah, it's not per business. So it's the building can host more businesses. But to have a building that's designated as commercial, you have to have a minimum lot size of 2,500 square foot. So it doesn't matter how many businesses are in that building.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Well, it does now.
Okay.
I don't have any questions on it.
I didn't catch what he said. Okay. I'm nothing until 6 again.
So are you guys looking at changing mobile home parks to larger number than 10?
Well, the problem I see with the mobile home park is that that park has to have recreational space because it's it's considered a multi as opposed to the houses. I don't know. We don't have a mobile home park, so
Not currently.
yeah. Does anybody have any comment on that?
Well, why is 10 the magic number on that?
Yeah. It hardly seems to me 10 would fit.
Yeah, because I'm thinking about our. I don't know.
But you're fitting 11 homes on an acre
You would think you could fit 11 trailers on a trailer park
or more
or more.
and still have recreational space.
And the recreational spaces, how much was that? I saw that somewhere. I have it marked. It was like 3,000
think it was-
square feet or,
I thought it was 100 square feet per unit.
That sounds right.
there was a minimum in there too.
Of
Yeah.
what?
Minimum of 100 square feet
For?
per each dwelling unit for multifamilies.
Where is that located?
Page 6, multifamily buildings.
Oh, there we
Section-
go.
Section
Okay, a
3E.
recreation space. Okay, I'm sorry, I missed that part. Yeah, I was
If you-
trying to
If
look
you've
at
got
the mobile home-
45,000,
the mobile home and multifamily in respect to the fact that it appears the other requirements as far as setbacks are concerned still apply. You know, there's minimum front yard and side yard, there's minimum backyard. And then you take the average square footage of a mobile home and you add another 400 square feet for parking.
and 250 square feet for setbacks. I did that math.
Oh, you did the math. Okay. And
So yeah, that's right. So that 15 and 10 and 5 and 5 is 250.
and let's say you've got a double wide that's what? They're 24 by 36.
Yeah, and that's actually something I have marked as coming up.
But if you have a mobile home park,
That's different.
that's different. It's not necessarily on each individual lot.
Yeah, you can stack
So a
this.
mobile home park is a large lot per se with, say I have an acre, I don't want to subdivide it. I want to have a mobile home park. How many mobile homes can I put on an acre?
I think we should probably take that away so that I'm willing to look up what some thoughts are on that, on what the norms are. I can Google that and bring some ideas to the next
Okay.
one.
That's fine, because that's what we're here for is conversation, mainly
Yeah.
to get through those kind of questions. But to be able to understand too, the difference.
Okay.
Yeah, so basically we're just unfamiliar with the dimensions of the trailer park or mobile home park and
Yeah,
okay.
because even at 4,000 feet, we're not nearly as dense as row houses would be. So our goal isn't to cram as many as we can in. I don't think, at least mine's not.
Yeah, that's not my goal either.
Just to open up some of these unused spots that we see when we
Yeah.
walk around town, if they want.
Okay.
So what page are we on now?
I'm ready to stop at 6 next. Anybody on 5?
I didn't see anything in 5.
Nope. Let's go to 6.
Okay, 6, section 3E, the mobile home manufactured homes. So when you say manufactured home, are you thinking literally the 2 double wides or 2 single wides, because or prefabs as well?
It's like when a manufactured home are the ones that come in on wheels, like a
Okay,
mobile home.
okay,
Yeah.
okay.
And so just so you know, too, that was one of the things that we had to change in our comp plan. We can't regulate, it
That's-
has to be a double wide.
That's why I've marked it.
Yeah.
Is that we're not allowed to be specific on that. So that wording is going to have to change.
Well, we were specific on 12 by 36, which is a single wide, right?
Actually, I think the intent of this was to not allow single wides in town.
The
mean,
wording
that's-
of this actually suggests that it's a double wide. It just
Yeah,
says 2 fully enclosed
At
parallel
least.
sections.
Full enclosed parallel section.
Yeah, I think we
Yeah.
need to strike number 2 altogether,
yeah, I think so.
which a mobile home manufactured home is different than a tiny home.
Yes.
Yes.
So tiny homes are, so say that somebody wanted to put a tiny home in, there are certain regulations of how it's built to be classified not an RV. Because you can't live in an
Yes.
RV in the city limits.
Right.
So you can have a tiny home as long as it's built, and I don't remember what
There's
code it
park-
has to
There's
be.
like park code, and then that's the really light
Yeah.
insulation, right?
Yeah, so you couldn't have one like that's classified as an RV. It has to be classified as something. I just don't recall what it's
Steve?
called.
I thought that was park code. Yeah.
So are we essentially renaming mobile home parks to not include mobile homes? My grandma and grandpa grew up in a trailer park, and I spent my summers there. And they had a 40-foot trailer that if they decided to pick up and move, they could attach to their car and move, even though they never did.
I think that this E is talking about on a single lot, not part of a park.
Correct.
Okay, on individual lots, right?
Yeah. Do we need to worry about that since you didn't understand it? I agree with you that it doesn't look like mobile home parks are included on this portion.
No, they're not.
No, I think this is specifically,
I think they're under additional uses or something. And well, recreational parks are under conditional use.
No, I totally misread that. It's for manufactured homes on individual lots.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think that's probably okay, rather than spending a ton of time trying to button down a mobile home park. I mean, because we do have this in here that if it's missing and this document is, I forget what the exact wording of that is, that doesn't preclude people from getting a permit. If it's deficient, I think that was under.
Right, right.
So maybe it's okay that sits deficient until somebody comes in on our new urban growth and says, I want to put a mobile home park in. Would we address it
I'm
then?
looking a little bit more at how we want to regulate it.
Not sure like know where they're going to put it.
Yeah,
Right next door to you.
I just don't see, I don't see a builder right now doing that anyway, because the home prices are so amazing. Well, at least now, yeah.
That's funny you say that, Eric, because my wife and I were having that conversation where we were discussing that exorbitant $10,000 hookup fee. And I turned to her and I said, when we were building homes in California and they were right around the $300,000 to $350,000 range, $10,000 hookup fee was no big deal. It was routine, and it went into the price of your house, that you budgeted when you were building a subdivision.
Yeah, I think that's
And
different.
now
if
I'm
you're-
sitting there looking and I'm saying, well, wait a second. Now houses are $350,000 downtown. And
But I think if you're picking up a 400 square foot lot and going to put a tiny home on it, then $10,000 becomes a large portion of your budget.
I don't know. We had a 1910 Craftsman home in downtown San Jose that was on a 3,500 square foot lot. As far as I was concerned, it had a huge backyard, and that house is $1 million house now. So
That's true. That's true. Yeah, that is true.
I don't know.
Okay, so I wrote down, so my other question was, are we allowed to mandate the 312 pitch? Seems,
I think we can.
okay.
It'll drain.
We'll get more into that.
It's just when I see, I mark manufactured homes, because when I see manufactured home, I think about the homes where they just come in and it's almost a kit they put together, but I guess it's not coming in on wheels. Is that kind of the difference? Yeah. Because those, what was that, Highline?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Those are costing something different.
Okay. Okay. The thing that's sitting in my head as I'm reading through this whole document or working with this is I'm trying to not discourage people from wanting to come invest in the town. So I see things like that as potential, it could be roadblocks. So that's what I'm watching out for. If you're wondering why I'm highlighting things.
No, it's good, man.
I have a question about section.
I was thinking we could contact a couple of the manufactured home people up in the Central Chicago's area and ask them,
Oh, if
is
this,
it normal to have a 312 pitch on your manufactured?
that'd be a
home?
great idea. I would be willing to do that, is
That's
take this in and say, is this going to limit you from any of your models? Or, yeah, that's a great idea.
It's a really good idea.
About that.
That's a great idea.
Yeah,
So I
that's question, Michelle. Thank you.
I X'd out number 2 and I added number 8, tiny home.
And Nora's with us now too.
I don't know if that was right. Hi, Nora. Oh,
So you
Great.
X out.
I X'd out number 2.
Mhm.
And then where do we stick tiny home in here?
We don't really regulate because it has its own regulations, so it just has to have a certain classification and not be classified as a.
RV.
Okay.
So I'll get you guys some more information on tiny homes.
Okay, it's probably not an 8 then. It probably sits out like similar to duplex, right?
Well, I was
Something
going
else.
to suggest that perhaps it have its own paragraph.
That's what, yeah.
I agree with that.
Where
Yeah.
are the current tiny home regulations coming from? Is that state?
The state.
The state, correct.
Yeah, that probably needs its own section. Similar to looking at the duplexes, do we need to get more specific with those? Like, is there a limit to how many units in a duplex?
Duplexes are considered single or are covered under single in the other areas.
Right.
Okay, so they fall within the same units per acre as single family. You could have some really large duplexes then.
You could.
Anything else? On 6? Okay, how about 7?
Well, I highlighted medical marijuana collective gardens simply because I think when we get further down the road on this, a good portion of this code is taken up with marijuana.
Yeah, lots of words were put into marijuana when this was last done.
That don't really apply anymore.
Yeah,
It's very 2016.
it's very 2015. It is, yeah, this version is 2015, yeah. I agree with that. I think I have it marked somewhere else, but I know they spent a lot of time 6 years ago going over the marijuana stuff. Are they ready to reopen that? And
Well, can they prevent? Yeah, I read the thing.
You guys are starting to jump around, so I would think.
let's wait until we get to there.
Yeah, you have some questions probably on
Yeah, I have one on 8.
8 or 9.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, yeah, let's wait until we get to the meat of the medical or the marijuana stuff. I agree with that. I just highlighted the livestock 12 or half acre minimum. So that includes chickens, right?
I thought chickens were their own separate.
I thought so too, but then I saw poultry is livestock 2C. Oh, wait, the 15.
Yep, I
Yeah.
believe that's correct.
Yeah, I'd like to see chickens be legitimized in town, not roosters, but chickens, and not a ton of them.
That's under.
Okay. Poultry's in livestock, which is half acre.
But if you read it,
Yeah,
Well, it's right now it's covered. They get 12 without a permit, right?
correct,
oh, so you're saying that first part, that's what that first sentence means?
yes.
Oh.
Allow them to have up to 12 without a conditional use permit.
Okay, now I understand how they read that.
More than
Okay,
12 and up to 25 and 50 brown chickens, you have to get a conditional use permit.
perfect. That's exactly what I was hoping for.
More than that, it goes to the planning commission.
So I would clarify in that language that you would have up to 12 full-size hens and not allowing the roosters in there? Because then they say 50 growing chickens means that someone's hatching out babies, and then
Babies.
you're eventually going to have a bunch of males that they'll have to get rid of. So,
Before they kill them, before the neighbors kill them.
Yeah, no, yeah,
Yes.
they're a
So
nuisance.
You don't want any roosters at all if you have less than 12?
I mean, that's generally what I see in town
Yeah.
cities. I mean, I don't know what the consensus would be exactly, but I would be surprised if people were like, you know what, it's okay if my neighbor has a bunch of roosters.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
you're not gonna have chickens hatching out babies if you don't have a rooster.
I don't, yeah.
I'm okay with leaving the poultry language vague.
Leave it vague.
Well, I mean, until I just know typically it's like an anti-rooster policy in these regs.
Well,
Typically.
number 3, it's got livestock shall be kept in such a manner, and maybe I should say livestock / poultry shall be kept in such a manner as to not constitute a nuisance with respect to neighboring property.
Well, I had a question about that too, because that kind of puts a lot of power and authority into everybody's neighbor.
True.
I mean, like, really, what is to prevent that any neighbor to say, "Oh, this is a nuisance"?
It seems to me they'd have to make a case before the city council, wouldn't they?
Perhaps so,
And I don't see goats in here anywhere. How come I don't see
because the goats are too friendly.
except pygmies who are too vocal?
Okay, so well, that was just a question of mine about the roosters. I think the language is fine.
So are you guys thinking that maybe you want to put a description or identify what livestock actually is? Because like Brian pointed out, it doesn't have goats.
No, that was Steve, but
Oh, Steve,
Is
sorry.
that not?
Somebody.
Is that not in the definitions?
well, how do we deal
I don't
with
think it's in the
exotic-
definitions.
How do we deal with exotic pets that people like to keep?
Like tigers.
Yeah, no, livestock is defined as horses, bovine animals, sheep, goats, donkeys, mules, and chickens.
Oh, so there is a definition. Okay, thank you.
Good.
Okay, but
Does it need to be expanded?
The tigers.
what happens if somebody wants to raise pigs?
Bovine animals.
Bovine's cow.
Oh, sorry. City folk.
Horse.
I'm in
Horse.
town. Why do you think I live in town? You're right, it is, I knew that.
I don't know, but what are those other things they have out the freeway? I think it goes, but
You've got llamas, you've
Llamas?
got alpacas,
Llamas?
you've got miniature donkeys,
buffalo. What's a
pot
buffalo?
pigs.
Is buffalo a bovine?
Buffalo is a ruminant.
A what?
A ruminant. It has 4
Okay.
stomachs.
Wow.
Ooh.
Chooses cud.
4 times.
Wait, there's buffalo nearby?
Oh
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
Where?
Down by Miss Beasley's across the highway from
I think a peacock would probably be an exotic, wouldn't it?
If you took
That
59,
might be a sound issue as well.
Oh, well, I know, I hate those things.
Yeah, peacock would be.
it would be an
Duck-
exotic.
ducks? Yeah, we don't have anything about ducks.
and I guess the
I would
question
assume it would be
there's certain of
noise.
those animals you're going to want to require a permit for. I mean, I'd be kind of upset if somebody in my next door neighbor showed up with a peacock.
Oh, yeah, no,
They sound like babies getting killed.
They sound like it's somebody yelling for help.
yeah.
Help, help, help.
Yeah.
I know that. They
Randy
live next
Pennington
door
would
to
love
me
that,
at one
wouldn't he?
point. Through noise.
That might be worth calling out specifically, the noise.
So.
Can we put that into
so
part of
Kind
three?
of enhance that number 3 a little bit more.
Yeah.
On that nuisance side of things. Noise, smell.
And then if some neighbor were to have a nuisance complaint, they would have to bring it to city council to say like we're talking about, there's no mention of peacocks, but someone does buy peacocks, and then the neighbor complains and the person says, but I can keep my peacocks. So then the complaint then would go to you guys or to city council or
Police department.
police department.
Police department.
It would get serious.
We're serious, yeah.
Yeah.
What law would you enforce though?
The nuisance law.
Peacockery.
Well, so then that person who had the peacock come to city council to try to defend it if they wanted
They
something
would go
changed?
to a court of law.
Well,
It'd be
that's-
defended at court.
That's annoying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That seems like a rotten way to get into the justice system. What are you in here for?
Well, the nuisance law just, there's more teeth in it. So they come to council and the council's like, okay, well, I don't think you should have it. And they're gonna go, I want it, so it's mine.
That's true. We've seen that.
Where
where-
if it falls under the nuisance law, you have a law that says you are a nuisance because you're not cleaning up your barns and there's a smell and your animals making all kinds of noise at these certain hours. And that's why it comes under.
So it's
Law
under a
enforcement.
municipal code that we don't have access to, right?
So that's all fine. I just want to make sure that if we kind of get to what's in town where, you've got 3 chickens or 5 chickens
Mhm.
and your neighbor hates chickens and just claims nuisance. How does that? Yeah.
There has to be proof.
Yeah,
I mean, just even if your dog is barking all night and you're saying it's barking all night and you contact the police department and the police department comes out and your dog's not making a noise, unless there's proof that it is barking,
okay.
all the night, he can't do anything until there's actual proof of it.
Okay.
So it is the police who determines if it's a nuisance or not.
Correct.
All right.
And they're and that's under a different municipal code.
Correct.
Okay.
So we should probably just refer to that in this section too, just so. That sounds like,
I'm not sure you're not correct under that same thing. Livestock shall be kept in such a manner as not to constitute a nuisance
right.
under municipal code
Yeah.
section such and such.
Yeah.
Can you fill in that blank for the municipal code, Michelle?
Yeah.
That was not resounding.
Your garbage is too loud.
We'll get that to you guys.
I have a velociraptor living with me right now, so.
We do actually write a lot of nuisance letters, and so
Generally, if you want a nuisance is, we write a certified letter to whoever is causing this nuisance and let them know they have a nuisance and they have X amount of days to correct that nuisance. And then if not, the law enforcement does come in and you could be ticketed and fined and court costs and that. So it's not like a definite, you call on your neighbor, the police hears the dog barking and a ticket's written either. So there is a process that we do follow to try to not get to that ticket part, because it not only costs you, it costs the city
Yeah.
to, write a ticket and go through the court system.
And of
Yeah.
such things, murders are made.
Is that a flock of crows?
No, I say you read all the time about one neighbor hassling another neighbor over something and it ends up in.
Oh, yeah. All right.
All right. Can we go back up to 303 I just had a question about the bed and breakfast one. It says no more than 5 bedrooms are rented to transient guests. I was just wondering why 5 was the
By the
limit.
number?
Yeah,
Is that
why 5?
Seems arbitrary if you've got a 10-bedroom house.
Right. But it's its own section, or own line, so I wondered why 5 was the limit.
I don't know at that time, if they thought over 5, then it's a motel. I don't
Oh.
know, because usually bed and breakfasts, don't have a lot of rooms, but that would, are you getting into, because this is conditional uses in a residential zone.
Okay.
Right.
So do you want to have, a house with 10 rooms and people coming and going all the time? So that's probably what they were looking at that point,
makes
because it
sense.
is in a residential zone.
Yeah.
That
It
makes
could,
sense.
it could be changed, but
Yeah, because the 1 and 3 makes sense to me to be locked down, but I don't understand the 5 is all. So like Eric was saying, if someone was motivated to go build a 10-bedroom house and have it be B&Bs, would we be like, oh, sorry, you can only do 5?
I would encourage them to come get a conditional use to make, and make that, it might be that the UGA has grabbed the rest of the riverfront property and one of these giant lots has put a fabulous giant B&B on it where it's not bothering anybody.
Right.
That would be different.
so do you want to change that language then?
No,
I was just
yeah,
suggesting eliminating number 2 on that one, just because it's arbitrary, unless we wanted to specify a number that we thought was more accurate.
yeah. I just want to somehow get the person who wants to build that 10-bedroom B&B on the waterfront. Somehow their plans need to come before the planning commission.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
Well, they would have to, because it's a conditional use
It's already
to have a
conditional
bed and
use.
breakfast.
Yeah, so if it's a
don't-
conditional
not if
use-
They want 2 bedrooms in this. If they want a bed and breakfast, it's a conditional use permit and it has to come before the planning commission.
Regardless, yeah. Regardless.
Oh, so regardless, so that does make number 2 kind of moot, because if somebody decided they wanted to turn the dilapidated building down here on the corner into a 10-bedroom,
Yeah.
that would
Right.
not be awesome. Well, there'd be no, yeah, but there'd be no parking, there'd be no, yeah, it would be very busy.
Right, and that could be the other thing that you could put in there, that you have to have 1 parking stall per every rentable unit
Yeah.
Because
That's cool.
when off-street
that would
parking.
be, that would be in keeping with the multiple ADUs.
But that would be part of our condition of approval of the conditional use permit. Right? That would be one of the conditions we imposed in
Yeah.
order for them to get a conditional use permit.
But why not spell it out?
Yeah, if you
Yeah,
spelled it
it-
out, then they would not be bothering us if their
And
intent
if
was.
we
yeah.
have a whole different planning commission in 20 years from now, and they're looking back and, or even 5 years from now. Eric's gonna be
Don't you
here.
say that out loud.
Wow, are you getting rid of me? I plan to be here another 40 years. What are you talking about?
And I mean, you're right, other conditions can be placed on it, but I think that it would be important to have at least 1 off-street parking per rentable space.
We
Yeah.
want to make that strike number 2 and insert that as part of that.
I like
Yeah,
that.
That's would be my suggestion.
Yep.
Good suggestion.
I like that. 1 spot per room, get rid of the no more than 5.
Yep.
Should these also be, does this apply to things like vacation rentals, Airbnbs?
Yeah, I think that's covered under the AD. Oh, so like if somebody wanted to Airbnb a room out in their house?
RV, yeah. We've never addressed that because that, we've never had that issue.
Mhm.
Um,
Well, we have a little ADU, so, and we've talked about that, and we were under the impression that we would end up with one parking spot. Yeah. Off street. Your squash bed.
Wait till we get to the storage of materials part, Eric.
Okay,
All right, that's it for me for that one.
so is anybody else lost on this poultry thing? I know that we kind of beat it to death, but I missed it because it was subtle in there. Because I saw the half acre and I was just immediately, oh, and I read through there and I said, oh, well, I can't do any of this. I'm wondering if we can, how do we call that?
Wait, what needs to be changed so you can have chickens?
Nothing.
And nothing, it
Oh.
just doesn't read unless you really understand what you're reading. Because we're in the conditional uses. And it feels, so you already have to get permission
but it says that you can have up to 12 without.
Okay.
Conditional use.
without a conditional use.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, just, it's in there as a kind of a double negative, so it's weird. For me.
Would it help to, at the start, like list out exceptions? Such as 12 full-size chickens or hens without a conditional use permit, if those were towards the beginning, so you see your exceptions before you read the rest of it?
Or maybe if it were on its own numeric line as like number 5 as an exception.
And then would you put like pygmy goats or?
No, I don't think so.
What's the potbelly pigs?
I-
Is that an exotic or?
Are those pets?
They argue that they are.
There are people that argue their chickens are their pets.
Yeah. I actually have already read about where people with their HOAs are getting their chickens registered as
Support
assistant
animals.
comfort animals. They totally they did that. The HOA came at them and they said, no, comfort animals.
Okay.
Talk to the AMA.
So we definitely need a little bit more work on this section. I don't
Yeah.
want to get to that
Great.
tonight.
I like that.
Let's move on
Okay.
and, you guys all think about it.
Okay, great. So 3.04 is right after that, and I've got 8,000 marked.
Yeah, me too.
And so that down to 4,000, which also I think affects 305 because it says that should have 75 feet of frontage, but a 4,000 square foot lot on 83 and a third square feet, or 83 and a 3, which is our city blocks, most of them, is only 48 feet.
Well, I have a note here too, at the end of public road on 3.05, at the end of public road, a comma or an easement through the front property to the back.
Yeah, there was somewhere in here that said no flag lots, but in getting more flexible to allow people to make use of their property, I would think that should be something addressable, so that if you wanted to create an alley.
Exactly.
Cindy and I were just walking last week, and I looked at a piece of property that I was like, this is exactly, you could fit, these two homeowners could sell their back half of their properties, put an alley right where the alley is, and have 2 houses that come in off of the alley,
Right.
which is most likely how some of that's going to get used, if it gets used. I think that innermost one would be considered a flag lot because it has no true frontage. Although I guess its frontage is to the alley. which is a city. I don't know that that's a whole lot different than the end of the south side of town where that street's very narrow.
So do you want to change the lot frontage to like 30 feet?
Anybody have comments?
I
35 feet, 38 feet?
We want to work on that one a little bit longer.
I think that maybe it would be good, I can go back to that one and as an example, see, how do you make this fit? How do you make sure this fits?
Because when I'm thinking flag lot, I'm thinking it might be, driveway basically.
Exactly.
maybe 12 foot.
Right. Which makes me wonder if there's any frontage requirements, because that's actually what stops you from having a flag lot.
Right.
So let's work on 3.05.
Okay.
Setbacks. Any comments on setbacks?
Not here.
No,
Height.
no,
Nope.
lot coverage I did though.
Yeah, lot coverage, we did increase that, I think in 2015 to that 50%.
I was, because there are people that are doing abatement, so I'm kind of thinking now if you also have this larger house on a smaller lot, what could you do to abate that? So there are people are doing that like with the water gardens or rock gardens to bring their, so they're controlling their own runoff. It would be nice if that were, have you worked with anything like that, Steve?
Yes, actually, it was a requirement in a lot of small lot subdivisions that you had roof gutters that ran to essentially which were cobble swales, something to keep the water on site for as long as possible.
Yeah,
So I'm not really considering a rock garden part of the lot coverage.
no, but the idea is that if you don't let the water, I'm pretty sure this is in there to help the strain.
Impervious.
Yeah, and so you can, if you take control and collect your water, you can collect it to, it's slightly lowered and has taller walls and it'll have water plants in it. And so the water goes into that and then it holds it and then it drains there. And
Yeah,
we
it's
had
called
this-
bioswale, I've heard them called.
Yeah, I don't think that was the intent when this was put in. I think the intent was so that if you have children or whatever, they have a place to play and you have a yard and you're not building a house on top of a house.
Okay,
And so that's why the 50% lot coverage could be over 50% lot coverage was, I think, put in place.
Yeah, it's a pretty big house if you're going to take a 4,000 square foot house and cover more than 50%. And
is that also includes, but not included, so it doesn't include parking or swimming.
No.
Okay, I thought it was actually water abatement. Okay,
no, in some instances, Eric, we actually got to the point where we were putting cisterns in a very small area of the front yard as temporary holding facilities for stormwater runoff. And it would have essentially it would have a pipe leading out to the storm drain that didn't activate until the water got to a certain level within the cistern.
So Steve, being in the construction field, do you have the ability maybe to draw up something on a 4,000 square foot lot and put in, say, an 1,800 square foot home, a 250 foot or something, make it up, garage or outside building, and for the next planning commission, so they could see how much extra space, if you meet all these setbacks
that's a
too,
great idea.
that you would actually have, or could you even fit a 2,000 square foot house on a 4,000 square foot lot with the setbacks that are being suggested here.
If you did integrated parking and 2 stories.
Right,
You could.
right.
Yeah,
Would you be willing to do that, something like that for us, Steve?
that'd be great.
He's fallen silent.
I think also, you want that single story or double story?
Do a single story.
1,800 square foot home.
Or how much single story could you fit to?
Yeah, how much single story could you fit on a 4,000 foot lot, including accessory buildings
With the setbacks and.
with the setbacks?
And 50% coverage. If you can fit that,
So we could kind of see if it would fit and what it would look like.
yeah.
Mhm.
I
Yeah,
think that's a,
totally
And then
right.
if you could get that, just PDF it to me or something, and I'll make sure it's in the next packets, or you could PDF it to everybody. It doesn't matter. Because I think that will help us. I'm a visual person.
I agree with that. I am too.
Well, look at this there, lady. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. And again, we have medical marijuana mentioned, but we're not there yet. Anybody on 10, 11? I didn't have anything for a while. Oh, then we get to cannabis on 13.
Well, the commercial zone though did not have anything in there for marijuana at all.
No, it was right after commercial. Oh, wait, yeah, no, yeah, no, 4A. 4A, it is kind of commercial.
Where's that now?
Page 13, bottom half.
Yeah, but I think that is in relation to medical marijuana, correct? My question is, when I was reading this, was, are we going to allow pot stores or a pot store as a permitted use for a commercial zone?
Yes, it is regulated with certain regulations.
At the state level, but you'd have to really work to get it to fit in this town. What's 1,000 feet?
Okay.
Yeah,
1,000 feet from the
it
school?
has to be further than 1,000 foot from a school or daycare.
Right.
So we have that identified in mapping.
I think we did that one time.
Yeah. where it
Laray's
can
shuts
be.
the entire downtown down.
Right.
I think
And
it
you
ended up-
don't want it where you don't want to put a moratorium on a pot shop, because then you're limiting tax dollars that the city can get.
Right.
Because if the city has a moratorium, the city cannot have any tax dollars at all for marijuana in any city. So right now we get X amount of dollars based off population because we do not have a moratorium.
Well, I think at one point in time we came in and looked at the maps when when somebody thought there was the guy at the Bonanza or something was going to be putting in a pot shop, and we realized that I think it would end up having to be all the way up at the Texaco station.
You couldn't put it there either because of that's too close to the school, the middle school and the high school, right? Because you're 1,000 feet.
The
That's,
Texaco station could have it.
oh, the Texaco station could have it. Okay.
Chimmy's could have
Yeah,
it.
the one that's, or the one
Oh,
that's up the
Jimmy's? Is
street,
that-
across from Betty's.
Yeah, Chimmy's could have it, Texaco can have it. If you look at our urban growth area, there are several places that could have it in the urban growth area, like Toledo Cal. They're more than 1,000 foot from the school, so they have zoning up there that is classified as light industrial, commercial.
So Toledo Tel Internet and Bud.
Yep. Be a good place for it.
And I think that would fall probably under section M, retail activities, dispensing commodities or services.
Yes.
Correct.
Okay,
I figured that.
I withdraw my question.
When I read through the section 4A, it just looks like somebody spent a long time wordsmithing this to get exactly what their intention was to get out. I was afraid to touch it.
Yeah.
I spent a lot of time on that ordinance.
I bet you did.
I bet you did.
I could tell.
I had a headache.
You spent a lot of lawyer time on that, but somebody drew up quite the legal document, the legal opinion. Oh, there was a huge, well, there's a lot of legal terms in there in what.
I was Cindy, plagiarized, was out there.
Absolutely. Well, it didn't seem to be doing anything totally wrong. How does this work with residents who have their card and can have plants?
I think this was talking at that time, like collective gardens. So like you could grow X amount of plants yourself, but if John wants you to grow his plants, you have to have this collective, at that time, it was called a collective garden. So say that you're growing for 5 people, because you can only have so many plants. I'm not up on all the marijuana laws anymore, sorry.
They've changed infinitely since now.
So before you could have so many plants.
Yeah.
And I don't know what that law is now.
And then that way, one guy could be growing 30 plants, but really be having utilizing like 5 other people's licenses of growing 6
Right.
plants. Yeah.
Right. You're right.
And I think another reason not to spend a lot of time on this is because I'm assuming over the next 4 years, based on the direction things are going, it's going to slacken federally. So I have a feeling that once it slackens federally, it'll probably just be, that'll wash down very quickly.
Yeah. And you can grow it in your squash bed.
Exactly. Actually, they're going to have a hybrid squash with THC.
It'll be GMO.
This squash is delicious.
But it doesn't satiate my hunger.
The more I eat, the hungrier I get. That's amazing. The chickens are happy. They would be very chill. It goes on and it never seems to end either.
It's a massive section.
I think it's a waste of time to try to touch it. I think that we wait and see. I mean, I don't think it's in the way of anything. A lot. But yeah, honestly, then we would entertain if the Texaco said we want to have a dispensary. Then that would just come forward and it would work through, right?
Yeah, and there's so many other regulations that go with it.
Oh, yeah.
If they wanted to do it, you know.
By the time they get to us,
Yeah.
they've done, yeah. Holy cow. All right, it should be its own, look at that, we've jumped. Did we, 29?
29.
I have nothing on 29 or 30 or 31. I do on 32.
Did you notice that in stormwater on 5.06, though, they did make a comment there, any new development with more than 10,000 square feet of impervious coverage shall minimize runoff and velocity by retaining stormwater on site so that it can be evaporated, absorbed, or released.
And I don't know about the urban growth up the hill, but if you're in downtown now, the water runoff is not an issue. It will leave your ground very quickly, no matter how hard it rains.
Because it's all on sandy loam.
Excessive rain
We had
stuff, yeah.
a couple of rainstorms this last winter that were intense. It went away. Yeah, and I mean, the streets were flooded from just the street water, but our water coming down off our roof.
Yeah, the ground is very, very porous. rough around here. There's so much rock.
It was soggy the next day, yeah.
Yeah, we don't get a lot of standing
Right.
water, like, in other areas around Toledo. where
Right.
I call them swamps. But, we have had times where, you know, we had excessive rain and the people next to the river, when there was a lot of discharge from the dams,
Oh,
did not see the water evaporate as quickly.
well, I have nothing against this at all. Actually, I'm completely for it. We're going to be controlling our own water anyway. Okay. Anybody before 32, page 32?
No.
Nope.
Okay, so 603, do we need to address the ingress? It's on 603 and then 605. Specifically, 605 talks about parking.
I mean, 605.
So I'm envisioning this, envisioning this two lots where one of them is a flag and they share the alley. I'm assuming that that inner one would be backing out.
You're talking about 605 design of parking spaces?
Yeah, the turnaround, yeah, the requirement of a turnaround for
Okay.
egress.
Yeah.
I'm actually stuck on 602.
Oh, 602, okay, let's go back to 602.
Yeah, that with when you start talking flag lots and stuff like that too, the fire protection getting to that home.
So what, yeah, so we should know what the width is of that, right? Because the alleys are 12 feet. Is that enough for the fire department? That's a good question.
Well, it's more than a freeway lanes and they go down the freeway fine. It's just a matter of, are they going to be able to access? Where are they going to access the fire hydrant?
I can talk about this tomorrow with Eric Grove. I've got an appointment with him already.
That would be great.
Okay.
Okay.
I know they still want pretty wide lanes where you could have one fire truck coming in and one fire truck going out, irregardless of a fire hydrant.
I don't know.
That's a lot of setback.
Yeah,
That's a
you're
lot of
telling,
lane. That's a
you're
lot of
telling
lane.
me. You're telling me. They told me that a long time ago about my driveway.
Well, so we have wording that talks about, and I have to find it, that we can have the smaller roads in town have one-way traffic with parking on either side.
Yeah.
So that can't be much wider than 12 feet. Is it? I'm thinking
I
that
would think it would have to be wider than 12 feet, probably 20.
at the very end,
If
so
you're
at the,
parking on one side and a lane of travel.
it was parking, so I'm thinking down at like, if you go down 3rd Street all the way to the end and then you turn right, it almost looks like it's not a street. And that's really thin. Maybe it is wider.
I was thinking all the way down 2nd Street.
Mm,
Rose Road.
If you go, is it all the way down 2nd and turn right?
I'm thinking, well,
So it's past where the barbecue is. It's past where barbecue, so it's on the same street as the Bonanza
but it's
Barbecue.
already
But if you go down that 2 blocks, then that second one, it narrows down to almost nothing.
It does, but there's so much right-of-way space on either side of it that I don't think you end up in a squeeze like you would trying to get to a flag lot.
I will, I'll discuss this with Eric Grove tomorrow, and we can actually go take a look at that one, this one lot and lot next to it that I have in my head and see if that bothers him, and maybe they have some regulations on that.
So you want to table the parking section and
I think we should table the parking until next time, and I'll take that as a to-do.
and then we're at 34 for aesthetic standards.
The only thing I had was 703.
I bet it.
What?
I was looking at 702B.
What are you trying to say? It could be very slow current building activity.
Exactly.
Um,
I'm looking at 703.
so 703, so with the signs, does this also count for like 505? Because when they put the safety signs in 2 years ago or a year ago, they actually created a giant blind spot for the pedestrians. Is that them that we need to talk to? Because I've actually come around and not noticed a car because you have this giant sign right in front of you. Which is,
Yeah, I've had the same issue.
yeah,
Yeah, it's kind of weird
It's
because
pretty
they
hazardous there.
talk Both directions, and we've had people say.
Where's that located?
I mean, right at the corner at the bank corner, the main corner. Yeah, the bank and the post office. And
Oh, on
I
the
will
505.
admit this out loud that I did actually walk into a sign while I was looking at my phone. I was mostly saved by my hat. But I did smash myself pretty significantly.
Yeah, and we actually have had very good comments about that.
I like the safety thing, but I just don't like the fact that the big crosswalk sign is right where you stand if you're, and it goes from about here to here for me. And you have to, once you pass that sign, you're in traffic. You have to actually peek around it. Yeah. Yeah.
So that's a different issue, not really with this.
No, but that's what made me remember it. So is that something, so I was gonna ask you, do I bring that to city council? I'd be more than happy to write something up and get on the agenda.
Yeah, or talk to our police chief about it too.
Okay.
Maybe we need to get a notice. We have not had that thing, have we? Right?
Just from me.
He might remind you to not walk while being distracted on your phone.
I'm fine with that part. It's just,
Yeah, when I first went, I was one lady that came in.
I've had similar issues with that, Eric. So if you need a second voice on that, let me know.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
You guys are first really bring it to our attention.
It might just be that I walk that so much. I walk that, I mean, we walk that a lot. I don't drive to town. So, because there's no parking. No, I'm kidding. That's what I'm saying is I'm so close that I do the walk across that a lot.
Drive up to City Hall, do their business, get back in their car, and then turn around and drive to the post office.
I've seen people drive to the post office.
Are you serious?
I have actually walked and had somebody that's not much farther than me drive to the post office, and we were there at the same time, and I got home first.
So, any other questions?
Okay. No. None for me. Oh my goodness, and then I must have been getting woozy because I went a long ways.
Does anybody have page 36, 37, 38?
We're in subdivision.
We skipped 7.04 political campaign signs.
We're not talking politics. What would you like to add there, Steve?
Hey there, little one.
Hey.
You can turn and see him. Yeah. So Steve, do you have some thoughts on 704? Distracted now.
I can't hear her.
Baby.
What's your thoughts on 704? She asked Steve.
I think that right now it stands as a suggestion because there's no enforcement of it. So
I think there's actually state law on campaign signs, and this kind of follows state
Okay.
law regulations.
That's fine.
Yeah.
So is this on, where would these signs be? This isn't on like a person's private, right?
I
They're
think
allowed
it
to,
is.
well, I would assume somebody on their private land can stick a sign there all year long. Really?
Oh, really?
Huh.
We got some violators in town.
I'm sure we do.
I'm
Like I
guessing that's like some of the least of our violations in town.
As a suggestion.
Guessing there's probably violators in many areas of the state.
I think you take that up with the police chief too, right?
Yeah.
I love that.
Tell him to go in and tell him to do his job.
That and bark dogs. So anything on page 38,
On page 30, what?
38?
B
Oh,
38.
Nope. Bueller.
B38.
I'm on 41 is when I want to talk.
Anything before page 41?
Nope.
Okay, Eric.
Okay, so 41 there defines our alley at 20 feet. So that tells me that if you were to do that little flag lot deal, that you would be gaining 12 feet from the city's alley, and then you would have to supply an additional 8 feet of passable frontage in order to be 20 feet, and then that would be an alley.
That would be part of your setback.
Well, I'm thinking a flag lot that say that you have a large lot off of a main street
Yeah,
and you want to sell off or subdivide the back half of it.
Right.
So you would flag it to the main street,
yes,
how the minimum width of the flagpole would be 20 feet. It wouldn't matter alley or anything. So that's how I see it, that it doesn't matter what the street or current streets or alleys, it's what your property would have to have a minimum 20 feet.
okay. So here's, and I don't know if you guys can see it, here's what I'm talking about is we have a situation in town where these two houses have just completely derelict space right between both of them. And it is right next to an alley. And I think this is down Third or something like that. And so if these two people wanted to allow that to be developed, then I'm assuming access to this one would come up the alley,
I would,
right? And if you wanted to put a house
I
here
would
and a
say
house
that
here-
that you have to be very careful with your language because the
Okay.
way, so, you know, if I was looking at it as somebody that was reviewing the plan, I would not include the alley as 12 foot. You would have to have 20 feet plus the alley. So, because I think somewhere in the plan too, it says that you have to, your property has to come off of a main street.
Right. Yeah, we passed through that one.
Yeah. You can't have your property coming off of just an alley.
Which is why I brought up the point of you were either going to have an alley or you'd have to have an easement if somebody was going to subdivide the back lot.
That just, this just might not work, and I might be wrong here. That might not be enough space. It might be that these two people have to go in to sell that as a unit, and then
Yeah.
you have the house.
And that is one thing, I mean, we need to make this clear so that whoever's reviewing a plan can read our document and understand the intent, you know, because I'm not going to be here forever.
So maybe we should have some words to the intent
Yeah.
to suspend and to elaborate on that a little.
Yeah.
Okay. Then I'll stop beating that dead horse. And we can talk about that.
Does anybody have any other things on subdivision minimum widths for the streets?
Well, I do have one question. Does this, you've got these arterial collector locals and they all have sidewalks on them for new construction. Does the city intend to ever put sidewalks in the main part of town?
Not at this moment, no.
Okay.
But what this section is, the subdivision. So if you were a developer and you have 20 acres and want to subdivide it, these are the things that you're going to have to do.
Right. Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. And so like Cindy said, it kind of falls with in the comp plan where we're talking about more walkability.
Right.
So do we have anything 43, 44?
So we're an hour and a half and halfway in.
On the street grades and curbs, we do have grades for, and this is part of the subdivision
Yep.
design standards. We should have a maximum slope for driveways. And typically it's 12%.
12%?
So like a 1004C type thing, 12%. Wonder if that's.
So it is suggested that we're an hour and a half into this and we're about halfway. Did we want to set up another meeting or meet just, our normal meeting time to go over the questions that we have so far and continue on page 43 further?
I'm okay with either one.
I'm okay having a work session meeting. I'd rather do that than have these mega monthly meetings.
Any dates?
In agreement with that?
Anybody else? Daniel, Brian, Nara?
I'm good for another meeting.
Me too.
Someone want to make a motion to what date that meeting would be on? Is that what we need to do?
April Fool's Day, Thursday?
And perfect.
Sounds good.
So you guys want to meet on April 1st then?
And then our normal meeting would be on the 15th, 2 weeks later.
Right.
That's fine.
So will that work for everybody?
I think so. That would work for me.
So
Michelle,
April
the
1
first
and
is
April
our board
15th.
meeting.
What was that?
First.
Okay.
What's that?
So I'm also on the Lewis County Seniors Board. So that would be my board meeting on the 1st at same time, 6 o'clock.
How about the 31st?
Do you guys want to do it on the 31st? That's a Wednesday.
That's fine.
That sounds good to me.
And remember, Joanne's due on the 28th, so I might miss that one.
Yeah.
If you end up missing that, we can bring your notes in if you've got them.
Sure.
You can zoom in while you're in the
Yeah,
hospital.
from your phone.
Yeah, we get a photo. We can get a picture of the new one.
I'm sure that'll be my number one priority.
I'm
Yeah.
sure it will.
We can all yell at her to push.
Team effort. Same time, 6 o'clock.
6 o'clock work for everybody also, or
Yeah.
earlier or later?
6 is good.
6 is good. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
We'll schedule that then for the 31st at 6.
All right.
All right, shoreline update.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Are we,
Well, let's
we
get
still
to our
have to,
agenda.
let's blast through.
Oh, hey,
We have 2 item 6s to do.
Yeah, we
We
do.
didn't have an item 4.
I don't know who did this.
So,
This is
Hey.
not,
so
we cannot hire good people.
6A, 6A shoreline?
Maybe she was in that medical marijuana. I'm not sure. So anyway, shoreline, I was hoping to have an update for you guys. Our Gray and Osborne are working on it, and they were supposed to have an update to me, and I even talked to him today. So maybe by the next meeting, we'll have an update on that.
Okay.
General discussion, there's been just a hubbub of people really coming into City Hall looking to, develop properties. We've had how many new water sewer hookups? 5
wow.
this year. Yeah. So there is development going on. I think, everybody can see what's happening in Winlock. That's growing quite rapidly. And that's really scary too. They have a lot of big buildings going up and they're expecting a lot of homes. And with the giant church that is being built over there, a lot of those people will be moving into both our areas. I mean, through the grapevine, I've had the phone calls and they're like, we would rather live in Toledo. Who wouldn't?
Yeah.
So, be looking for things are going to start shaking up here.
Then it's good we get this updated.
Yeah, so we're really in, a good spot right now to get this updated and, hopefully you don't make it the lot sizes too small where you can put 500 homes on 20 acres,
I agree. Yeah.
So, obviously you would have, in a subdivision, you have to have certain parks and stuff like that. So that's spelled out. So let's really look at that subdivision, maybe a little bit closer and find out, okay, are we making enough open green space?
That's another good reason to pause, because I do know I was
Yeah.
blurry eyed by the time I got to that.
Yeah, so let's really, really peruse that area because that is going to be huge in our future and how we want things to look. So I want to really caution you to do that. So that's about all I have in general discussion.
Okay.
Yeah. On the subdivision topic, is it like, say, in the urban growth area, when it gets to if the apostolics start building a development in there, that's what you're saying the subdivision regs are gonna be?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
So a lot of those lots are, 10, 20 acres, even where Winters has his property, where
Yeah.
the Celts tribe had their 10 acres. And way
Uh-huh.
back when they were going to develop it and they, had it all subdivided out. Well, in order for them to subdivide, they have to follow these regulations and have the proper streets and stuff. You can't just subdivide and say, I've got a 8,000 square foot lot here and here and here. You have to show where all your streets are going to be, street lighting, sidewalks, all that. You
Yeah.
can't just subdivide lots into lot sizes without doing the infrastructure portion of it.
Yeah. Okay.
It is not 1881 anymore.
Correct.
No,
It's
it is not.
And it's going to take a lot of our time because we should be requiring that they not only submit their schematic drawings for that, then we're going to want to see where the houses lay on the lots, what the driveway slopes are, what
Yeah.
the signing and striping is going to be, access, whether now typically, we haven't got a lot of subdivisions in this town, but typically the planning commission in any other city would draw up a list of conditions of approval, which may or may not have anything to do with the subdivision. I recall building a connector street and a park across town for one of the subdivisions that I built, just because it was required to gain the approval of the planning commission. But most cities have historically used subdivision conditions of approvals to sort of tweak their wish list just a little bit, because down the road this is the city's talking and the developers were always shrieking that there's going to be a lot of money made when those houses change hands. And
I think that there was talk on I mean, they're required to get water there, right? So if somebody wanted to put in a subdivision immediately up next to Toledo Tel, we would probably go after them for a lot of money for water.
Well, I mean, and currently, I mean, the city is in development of getting water and sewer lines up to that area. And so our engineers
They might
are
help pay for that.
in the design phase for that. So there's a lot of money in the legislative that the city might be going after to actually build those lines
Mhm.
with also the help of these developers. And so, I mean, Stephen brought up a good point too. I mean, a development or a subdivision doesn't necessarily have houses. It's the subdivision of the lots. And so a subdivider could do all the infrastructure and then sell that lot. And then you put the type of house and where you want it in that lot. So there's different type of development. And so you're talking about a full development with the homes. A subdivider may not need that.
Well, in Southern California, it was typical
We're
for
not in
a developer to go in and actually buy a piece of property and develop the infrastructure
Thank God.
and get it platted for lots, and then he would sell it off to a home builder. Or in a lot of cases, the city
Yes.
would require that a certain amount of those homes be sold to individual homeowner buyers.
Yes.
In
And-
Northern California, that typically was not the case. Typically, the guy who bought the land ran it from demolition through turnkey to the new homeowner. And so you got a lot of variety there. The house I built in Fremont was one of the development types where I actually bought a lot that had been developed and then built my own house.
Yes.
But, you know, the thing that does bring up is there are certain conditions of approval you'd put on the subdivider, but the guy who wants to build the house on it, or the home building firm, let's say Adair Homes came in and bought 25 of the lots, they're going to have to come back to you again. And it's also an opportunity to correct any errors that we may have made and to determine if there are further needs that we have that they can fulfill before they get their approval. So, something to think about.
The future.
Not that far in the future.
I know, I'm tired. I hit a wall.
Well, I'm
Okay,
certainly not making a motion, I can assure you that.
say what?
I'm not making a motion.
Not making a motion.
I don't need you to. Yeah. Actually, those are great topics, and that's something we should make time to talk about. I agree. It's not that I don't agree. I agree. I just don't know what's to be said about it now.
Yeah. Do we have any more agenda items?
No, we have public input. Okay, nope.
All right. Well, I make a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Somebody besides Steve?
I'll second that motion to adjourn meeting.
All in favor?
Bye. Take care, guys.
See you guys.
Thanks for being here, guys.
Bye-bye.
Yes.